Welcome to Explain America. I'm your host, Kyle Becker. Well, President Donald Trump is looking to take a huge action that should improve election integrity in this country tenfold. But the Democrats, they're already kicking and screaming because they know this would mean more losses to their power. But before we get into the story, please like, share, and comment Explain America. Join us. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, President Trump will sign an executive order, he says, banning universal mail-in voting and requiring voter ID for every ballot cast in the United States. As he said, quote, "It's impossible to have mail-in voting and have honest elections," unquote. Well, here's the backstory on this. 8 states and Washington, D.C. conduct universal vote by mail, meaning they send mail-in ballots to all registered voters without requests. Sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. Those states are California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, and Utah. Whether a voter intends to vote by mail or not, they still receive a ballot. Well, universal vote mail, they expanded it to California, Vermont, Nevada, Hawaii, and Washington, D.C. in 2020 or later. And some of this expansion was in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Utah is the only universal vote by mail state that leans Republican, and it passed a bill earlier this year to change its mail-in voting process. And voters will no longer be able to automatically receive a ballot in the mail beginning in 2029. Instead, they must request one. Imagine that. Well, here's the thing about this. The universal mail-in ballots, they just go to an address. They go to places where people can just, if there's nobody living there, they can just pick up the ballot and ballot harvest and just drop them off. It's not like our elections are foolproof. It's not like we audit every single ballot. So you won't know like how much error there is in our election processes. And here's a little fun fact. Kamala Harris won only 2 states with photo IDs, 13 with no voter ID required, and non-photo ID in 4 states. And why is this important? Because Donald Trump also wants to ban voting without IDs. Well, it seems like common sense, and it's overwhelmingly supported by the American people. Around 80%, according to most polling, support voting with IDs. But you know who doesn't like it? The Democratic Party. You know why? Because they have no problem with phony votes being cast in elections. It tends to benefit them, I guess, and so therefore they're in favor of it. What a party. Wow, these guys are real patriots. Everybody give a round of applause to Democrats because they really care so much about democracy and about our elections. They care so much that they want it so literally anybody can vote in our elections, no matter where they live, no matter how many times, whether they're living or not. It's absolutely ridiculous. And calling election integrity voter suppression, they must have pulled an all-nighter to come up with that one because that's just a crock of baloney. Okay? Voter suppression is not making sure voters have the legal right to cast a vote where they live, and they do it only one time. It's just, what are you going to even do with these people at this point? The Democratic Party, their reputation is in the sewer for a reason. Their brand is getting more and more toxic by the day, and they just continue to oppose the will of the American people on pretty much every issue, whether it's borders, crime, and elections. So, their demise can't come soon enough, and hopefully, once we get the census corrected, where foreigners aren't counted in our elections because they shouldn't be here at all, they shouldn't be represented at all, then hopefully their power will go away even further, and they will have almost a very, very, very narrow window to win presidential elections at that point. They'll have less power in Congress. It can't come soon enough for me. Because this party has no morals, they have no compass, they just will support anything that is politically expedient for them. And it's about enough because they are not doing right by the American people, and it needs to end. So if you have any thoughts of your own, please like, share, and comment with Explain America. We really appreciate hearing from you, and we also value your support.